Select of African-American musicians was forced to play the Thriller video clip twice an hour to cope with viewer demand. Then there were the awards. As well as an incredible 7 Grammys, Michael took out a total of 8 American Music Awards, the Special Award of Merit, and 3 MTV Music Awards.
I saw him for many years. I saw the off-the-wall success and the Thriller success, the super success. Before that, we had other going places. We had other records and parties at Studio 54, but with Thriller, every barrier was broken. Stadiums all over the world were sold out. It became the biggest record of all time.
According to journalist and biographer J. Randy Taraborelli, Thriller stopped selling like a leisure album and began selling like a household staple. It also spawned a bonanza in merchandising sales. Alongside Michael Jackson dolls, T-shirts, and other memorabilia, there were millions to be made from sales of the making of Michael Jackson's Thriller documentary. The so-called one-man rescue team for the music business even had future President George Bush eating out of his gloved hand.
It was fantastic. The 80s were fantastic. It's probably as good as our record business will ever be. I mean, on that basis. Number one, for many reasons, because of vinyl. People would wear vinyl out. They had to go buy 2 and 3 copies. I was lucky. I had the 2 best engineers on the planet, Phil Ramone and Bruce Swedien, and they had minors in music. They were both musical and technical sonic minds. And to this day, every city I go to in the world, Shanghai, Shenzhen, wherever, Rio, Cairo, at that magic hour, I hear those records. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough from 30 years ago, and it blows my mind. It really does. But it's all the songs and Michael's talent and the production and everything else, but sonically, it's hard to beat.
Without doubt, Thriller owed much of its phenomenal success to Michael's dazzling performance in the famous 1983 television special to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Motown. Ironically, however, it almost didn't happen.
We were doing the TV show, and the word came back that Michael couldn't do it because he was doing too much television. And I called Michael up and I said, Michael, I know you and you know me, and you know this television show is not a television show. This is Motown 25. And he said, I'll be there. And he came there, and then he did the moonwalk.
In the middle of a rendition of Billie Jean, Michael debuted the legendary dance move that was to seal his reputation as the greatest innovator in pop music. The performance, witnessed by 47 million viewers, was declared a career-defining moment by commentators and drew comparisons with appearances by the Beatles and Elvis Presley on The Ed Sullivan Show in the 1960s. Developed by Michael after studying the great master of mime, Marcel Marceau, the moonwalk has since become one of the best-known dance techniques in the world. Right at the very height of his powers, however, Michael was headed for a date with destiny that would have serious physical and psychological repercussions in his life. A year after releasing Thriller, he signed a record-shattering deal with soft drink manufacturer Pepsi. The $5 million partnership was the first sponsorship deal of its kind and would form the basis of celebrity endorsements of the future. The idea was to lock Michael into a decade-long partnership that would help Pepsi challenge Coca-Cola's dominance of the market. Sadly, however, the plan was about to go very wrong. On the 27th of January, the stage was set for Michael and his brothers to perform Billie Jean as part of one of the Pepsi commercials. During filming, a pyrotechnic effect went wrong. The explosion showered Michael with sparks, setting fire to his hair. 3,000 fans watched in shock as paramedics covered his head and carried him away to hospital.
He came out between these things that exploded like fireworks, and then it looked like the sparks came down on his hair, and he was shaking his head like he thought something was in his hair. on. Then everybody jumped on him and started squirting water on him, and he got up like he didn't know what was happening, and they took him off.
As Michael began the agonizing recovery process, which included surgery to hide his scalp burns and an introduction to prescribed painkillers, his faithful fans gathered outside the hospital to wish him well. But rather than wallowing in his own troubles, Michael characteristically threw himself into caring for those less fortunate than himself. As well as donating $5 million from the Jacksons' Victory Tour to charity, he co-wrote the single We Are the World with Lionel Richie to raise money for famine relief. Delving into their little black books of A-list artists, he and Lionel pulled in a who's who of the music scene. The single ended up featuring the singing talents of stars like Bruce Springsteen, Dionne Warwick, Tina Turner, Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon, and Cyndi Lauper. Produced by Quincy Jones in 1985, it ended up selling more than 20 million copies and raising millions of dollars for the poor in the U.S. and Africa. Around the same time, Michael was engaged in a well-publicized battle to buy a catalog of songs by the Beatles that had come up for sale the previous year. Rumors abounded that Michael's aggressive bid had caused a rift with his old friend Paul McCartney, with whom he recorded the hits The Girl Is Mine and Say, Say, Say. Ironically, it had been Paul who had first put the idea of buying the music catalog in his head by telling him how much money was to be made in publishing royalties. And in actual fact, when the Northern Songs catalog came up for sale, although Paul had considered launching a late bid for the songs in league with John's widow, Yoko, he had pulled out of the race, leaving Michael to battle it out with other serious contenders in negotiations that lasted 10 months. He ended up winning the catalog at a cost of $47.5 million. As the 80s wore on, media attention began to focus on Michael's perceived eccentricities. What was really going on behind those aviator sunglasses? First, there was his pet chimp, Bubbles. Then there were reports that he slept in a hyperbaric chamber, talk of plastic surgery, and rumors he bought the bones of the Elephant Man. Many of the rumors were claimed to have been leaked to the press by Michael's own publicists. But despite his insistence that such stories were pure fabrications, the nickname Wacko Jacko stuck. Appearing in public hidden behind a face mask only fueled speculation about his increasingly idiosyncratic behavior, which was rumored to involve bleaching his skin. Michael hit back with claims that the marked change in his skin color was caused by the disease vitiligo, which needed to be covered up with makeup. Through all of the media's attacks, the